Hi there, welcome to Being Kind to You, a psychoeducational series. My name is Krista Walsh and I am a fourth year behavioral psychology student at St. Lawrence College. I developed this project as my final thesis as an educational tool aimed to support teens, parents, and teachers due to the increase in body image and eating related challenges faced by teens since the onset of COVID-19 in the Kingston community. A quick disclaimer before we get to this video's main topic. This series is solely for educational purposes. This series is not a therapeutic nor a treatment program, and it only provides a general education on the topic. If you need any support, please reach out to a trusted adult or a professional in your community. Thank you, and let's get to today's video.
Hi, I'm Sherry Lachine, a mental health professional supporting these educational tools and knowledge around supporting positive body image in our youth. This section is about social media, a big topic that's come up on a number of occasions in order to help understand how does social media impact our youth and their behaviors around body image and healthy eating habits. So, how do we support healthy social media literacy? There's a number of ways that we can focus. And one of them is we're going to educate ourselves. We're going to learn a little bit more about social media and what it can do for us and what it can do for the youth that we're supporting. We're going to talk about listening instead of judging or lecturing or problem solving. And that one could be really hard. So let's talk about how do we have those conversations. And how do we model social media literacy? What does that look like? And we'll wrap up this video discussing the effects of harmful beauty standards, these potentially fake or altered beauty standards that are unattainable, unachievable, and what does that do to our youth and the way they see themselves? So let's start with educating us. Social media is constantly evolving. And it could be somewhat confusing to take time to learn all of the different social media, what's on these platforms. And the most common ones that I've encountered are things like the TikTok. And I do love the TikTok. There's a lot of good on the TikTok. There's also some stuff that we have to pay attention to. We'll talk about that. There's Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, and more. So finding out what platforms are out there. When you research or learn more about these apps or platforms, find out how it can be used, what type of information is typically on there. And that can be done by a research online, a Google search, and even just asking the people around you, what are you using? And maybe why are you using it? You can ask people, how does it work? What are the reasons that you use it? When do you use it? What do you like? What do you dislike about it? So you can get very curious about why people are using these platforms, for what purpose. And so when we're educating ourselves, it might be easy to fall into this pitfall of social media, bad, right? It's harmful, it's dangerous. And that's a natural tendency because a lot of news reports speak to the dangers of social media. So there are negatives to social media use, but there's also positives. And it might be unrealistic to think that our teens, our youth will stop using social media altogether. So that's not an option. So it's important that we teach them how to interact with social media effectively and safely. So educating ourselves and then supporting others in their education of why they're using certain things. What's it doing to them as well? And a key concept for us showing up for our youth, for other people, is to listen instead of taking these opportunities to judge, lecture, problem solve, fix. These are natural tendencies that we all have to jump into these judgment, lecturing, fixing conversations. But I'm going to ask that we shift over into having very non-judgmental, open conversations about social media and the use of social media. And that could be a really good way to learn to hear them and to have different communication techniques. You want them to feel comfortable talking about social media and to develop, what's important, for them to digest. And what's important for us to do is to listen instead of judging or lecturing. So it's a really important concept. I know it's actually applicable throughout all of our conversations with other people, but specifically around something that can be so personal, as what we're digesting on social media. So when we're developing these conversations, recognizing our tendency to move over maybe into a lecture and telling them what they should be doing or shouldn't be doing, or that they need to just get rid of social media, we want to make sure that they know that we're showing up safely so that they feel seen and heard. So engaging in curiosity can be really helpful. So our youth can feel like no one's listening to them, especially around social media, because adults and parents and guardians, we might make these really sweeping assumptions and judgments and may not be fully present and listening. And that pushes youth, teens to be in this mode of not wanting to open up, not wanting to share, because they might be afraid of disapproval, additional judgment, or getting in trouble because of what they're digesting. So we want to keep these lines of communication open about social media use. So educating ourselves on what it is and what they're digesting, as well as these really open communication, these conversations around social media. So again, engaging curiosity, ask them questions about what it is they're seeing, what it is they're experiencing, what do they find helpful, what do they find that might be hurtful, and how social media impacts how they feel about themselves, their self-image, or maybe even just to pay attention to what it's doing to their mood, right? Are they feeling more depressed after engaging in social media, or are they feeling happier, right? These are great conversations to have and helps improve sort of emotional literacy. So how do we model social media literacy? Our behavior matters. Okay, so the way we engage, the times that we engage, how we engage with social media, describing how it's making us feel, some of the things that we're happy about or worried about. If we can have these honest conversations about what social media is doing and how it's impacting our lives, that can be really helpful in terms of helping others connect with social media too. So the harmful effects of some of the beauty standards that are out there, I think that is really harming a lot of our youth as well. Some of the research points to the fact that, especially through the Boys and Girls Club, they report that more than 80% of youth have stated that they want to talk to an adult with them about managing unrealistic beauty standards that they see online, because they are unrealistic and oftentimes unachievable, unattainable. So to be prepared for these conversations, maybe we review some of the popular apps and platforms that youth, are using to get a sense of maybe the content that they're being exposed to. So we can help reinforce the idea that these are unattainable, unachievable standards. So again, we want to set time too to have conversations about social media accounts, explain the negative consequences. What about following harmful accounts, right? And how it's having a negative impact on someone's self-esteem and body image. And, asking our youth, our teens, how they feel about these accounts, right? These influencers, these people that are out there promoting certain messages. Let's pause and see whether or not it's helping or hindering. Have a really good conversation about that. And so point out too that maybe some social media posts, and I've seen these, they're paid advertisements, and you don't really realize that they're paid advertisement meant to skew and to guide you down a certain path. So those products, those services, the influencers that are doing them and using these products themselves, they're doing that to actually, support their lifestyle, and it may or may not be in your best interest. So we want to see that some of those ideas can be negative, especially around fitness and unnecessary cosmetic procedures, because that could distort how a youth sees themselves and especially their body image. So we want to pay attention to that content and the source. Where is it coming from? And having those conversations. So maybe then we encourage our youth to review the accounts that they follow. And I've just recently learned that you can unfollow or unsubscribe on a lot of these platforms. So finding out, how do you do that? How do you unfollow any harmful or unhealthy ideas? And so you can ask youth whether following these accounts and seeing these posts make them feel bad about themselves. And that's a good indicator that it's time to stop following or unsubscribe. So maybe we can learn and ask, how do you block, unfollow, or report, or even click not interested? That's the one I just learned. Not interested. I'm not interested in following this content. It's not serving me. So figuring out how to do that, because social media uses algorithms to start narrowing your focus. And, you know, if your eyeballs are on those type of ads and they're giving you that emotional kick up, you're going to watch those more and more. So paying attention to the ones that are making you feel not good about yourself and having those conversations. So paying attention to where it's coming from, paying attention to where you want to put your time, energy, and commitment can be really helpful. And of course, educating ourselves so we can be more knowledgeable about what's out there, what's being posted, and what we can do. Showing up without judgment, without lecturing and problem solving, which can be so delicious in those moments. We've got to dial it back and engage with curiosity, especially now. And model behavior around social media and conversations around social media that speak to decisions and healthy behavior around what you're digesting and why. And also recognizing there's a lot of stuff out there that makes us feel like we need to attain unachievable and harmful beauty standards. And so having those conversations too. Remember, we all come in all shapes and sizes. And recognizing that, when pictures and influencers push a narrative that's not in our best interest, it's time to unsubscribe. I hope that was helpful, and I hope to see you in the other videos.